Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Flip Genius podcast. Today, we have a wonderful podcast for you. I have a fellow investor and friend, Andrew Becker, joining us today. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey man, good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for joining us. Andrew is a real estate investor, and he's got all kinds of stuff going on. I'll let him tell you that. But Andrew, why don't we start off? Kind of tell us a little bit about your background. What'd you do before you got into real estate, and what caused you to get into real estate?
Yeah. I'll start with like what I did right after college and then it kind of rolls nicely into it. But right out of college, Brandon, I actually started working for Enterprise Rent a Car, like helping people
Mm,
rent cars in
yeah.
Springfield, Virginia, by close to an airport. Long story short, there, I absolutely hated it. It was
Mm,
long hours, little pay, and you had to deal with people who just got into an accident or had to pay a lot of money for their car. And I told my parents, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. They said, give it one more week. Literally, man, the next day I picked someone up and she asked me what I want to do with my life. You don't want to work in enterprise the rest of your life, do you? And I said, no, I want to work for the government because my dad was a career civil servant working at the Pentagon for like 40, 50 years, like a really long time.
wow. Yeah.
So ironically, she said, wow, that's really cool. I actually just flew in from Los Angeles Air Force Base and I'm coming
Mm,
to the Pentagon to set up this new organization called Strategic Deterrence and Nuclear Integration. So,
wow.
long story short, the Air Force flew nuclear missiles, unbeknownst to them, all over the place. And we're like, oh my gosh, we have to have an organization set up to oversee our nuclear stockpile. Hence the new organization. It was called Air Force A-10, Strategic Deterrence Nuclear Integration. So I started there. I said bye to Enterprise, and I
Yeah.
started there in 2009 as an intern. And I rolled that internship into a 7.5 year career, working all 7.5 years at the same desk inside of the Pentagon, where I
Wow.
learned policy, checklists, and systems. And then in 2013, how I got into real estate is when I was living with a roommate, my best friend from middle school, who I'm still best friends with. Just got off the phone with him right before we hopped on here, and we said, "Hey, we don't want to do this working for other people for our whole lives,
Mm,
do we?" And we said, "Okay, well, let's start a business." And we had done like painting companies during summers together, and it was
yeah.
really fun, like being our own bosses. So we said, "What do we want to do?" And we dabbled in like sandwich company, like selling sandwiches in Georgetown at 4 a.m. to people coming out of the bars, that kind of thing. We didn't pull the trigger on it, but we mixed different remedies of hot sauce on chicken sandwiches. And then we said, hey, we like watching HGTV and flip this house, find this house, whatever, right? Why don't we get into real
Mhm.
estate? So 2013, we both got our licenses and we started with the MO of starting a team. So I actually did Air Force and real estate overlapping with each other for 2 years from 2013
Mm,
to 2015. We got the
okay.
hang of it. The first year, I think we did like 10 deals at KW. That was our first brokerage. And then
Mhm.
the second year, we did like 37 or 47 deals and started making some money. So 2 years into it, I told my parents and my spouse, my wife Allison, hey, I want to start doing this full time. And everyone was like, you have this cushy job at the Pentagon. Why would you give that up? I'm paying like $10 for healthcare, which was
Yeah.
awesome at the time. But I said, hey, this is really something I have a passion for and I want to do. And that's kind of what set us up or off into the real estate industry. So that's kind of
Wow.
what we
That's
started.
that's fascinating. So you were working for the Air Force when you were at the Pentagon,
Yeah.
working with nuclear missiles?
Yeah, so our organization, AFA 10, oversaw the stockpile or the longevity of missiles because we had an aging
Wow.
stockpile. So they're all over the place, right? In
Yeah.
in secret locations and not secret locations. So my
Yeah.
job was to support. I was a civil servant, so I wasn't in the Air Force, but I was a civil servant in the Air Force,
Okay.
but civilian. So I supported the men and women who had to fly places or go do big things, and I just made sure that they had what they needed and hired. I Part of my job was hiring the right people in the right seats and overseeing the entire org chart, if you will. So in
Okay.
support of the men and women doing the stuff on the ground.
Okay. So after being inside, so to speak, of the federal government, does it make you like it less or more?
I honestly loved it, man. It was so much
Okay.
fun, especially like walking down the hall, I'm like, oh, cool, there's the Secretary of Defense. Awesome. Like, hey, and I would like
Yeah.
talk to him if he was willing to, right? I just see so many
Yeah.
people. Like, I got to see Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, like all these awesome political figures that I
Yeah.
wouldn't have otherwise done. And I attribute my what I'll say is success in the real estate industry to what I learned there. Because I didn't know what I didn't know before I joined the Air Force, but I really think that's what helped me hone in on my OCD mind and the
Mm.
systems and the checklists that they followed to a T because they had to. It was a congressional mandate. But then I just took what I learned there and I'm like, man, would I have been so organized in my real estate life or world if I hadn't have done that in the Air Force? So I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. The people were great.
Yeah. I think my mindset, I obviously don't have the insight into that. So the only part that I see of it mostly is the politics, which wear me out. So I'm like, oh man, I don't even
Yeah.
want to talk about
Don't get me
politics.
wrong,
And
dude. There are bureaucratic politics inside the
oh
like.
yeah,
It takes a very long time even to get like a stack of paper that you need for your printer. But there are ways that they do things that could be a little bit more efficient. But I'll stop there.
yeah. Well, I think all of our experience certainly helps us learn and grow into the next adventure. So it sounded like it was a positive experience, and like
Yeah.
you said, helped you learn and grow once you transitioned into real estate. So you said you started the real estate business, with your best friend,
Yep.
right? Are y'all still partners today?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the guy.
That's
His
good.
name's Dan. I just got off the phone with him. We talk like almost
Okay.
every day.
That's great. It's
Yeah.
unusual for people to stay business partners a long time. I've had quite a few business partners over the years, but I love it when people find the right one and they work well together. And I think two minds are better than one at building something.
Dude, we met in seventh grade. We went to the same high school. We went to different elementary schools. Met
Okay.
in middle school. Our high school it's called a secondary school. It
Okay.
was a middle school and a high school together. So
Hmm.
seventh through 12th grade where we went to
Yeah.
high school. So we met in seventh grade. We've been friends, roommates, business partners for close to almost 30 years now, which is pretty cool.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. All right. So you said you built a team at Keller Williams. Were you, when you did those first 10, the first year, the second year, 35 or 37, was that retail sales or was that more flipping? What were you focused on at that time?
At the first year or maybe 2 years, we only did retail. So we help people
Okay.
buy homes, we help people sell homes. And at the very early onset of our careers, building out, so we had the vision to build a team. I
Hmm.
remember we went to a coaching program in Anaheim in like 2013-ish when we first started, and we both brought the book Traction with us, and we were
Oh
reading
yeah.
it in the airport, underlining it, putting together our
Yeah.
mission, vision, whatever in order to build a team. But at that point,
Hmm.
we had no clue what in the world we were doing. So we
Hmm.
really scraped and fought pretty hard to get that first deal, let alone 10 deals the first year. And then we kind of just started to grow as we got the revenue to grow.
Yeah. So did you determine who was a visionary, who was an integrator?
So Dan was the
Divide.
visionary, I was the integrator because of my OCD-ness that I mentioned before. I've always
Okay.
been really organized. Like I always joke like if my kids, I have 4 kids and they're always like in all of our stuff, right? If one thing is moved on my desk out of alignment, I will know.
Yeah.
That's just like, I don't know, it's me. It's really annoying to my family, I believe, but that's why I think I was the operator. So I was the person that
Yeah.
made things happen. And Dan worked on sales and conversions and
Okay.
working with as we grew and we got more of a compartmentalized departments inside of our
Hmm.
organization with people associated with them. He was
Hmm.
on the sales end of it, making sure we had revenue coming in the door.
Okay. So my wife and I, she's an agent. I'm not, but we have contemplated opening a brokerage here in Georgia. So I'd love to know, from my own personal knowledge, what would you say is maybe the biggest benefit of owning a brokerage, and what's the biggest drawback? Or would you say absolutely don't do it? What are your thoughts on owning a brokerage?
Well, I have never owned a brokerage,
Okay.
just to clarify, but it's tough. And right now we're at TTR Sotheby's in
Okay.
our off. We have in like the Northern Virginia area,
Okay.
so it's tough. I mean, you're competing with now Compass, who's has a soft bank backing and has tons of money and they're just buying up everything. We
Mm.
were of the mindset of we're leveraging someone else's brand, right? The Sotheby's brand, this high end brand.
Yeah.
At the time, Brandon, we wanted to go more high end into higher price points. And we firmly believed that there were two brokerages at the time. One, ironically or coincidentally, just got purchased recently by Compass and it was absorbed. But there was Washington Fine Properties and then there was Sotheby's. And we wanted to align with the Rolls Royce of real estate in our region. People wanted that, Sotheby's blue sign in there. That they were recruiting us at the time too, and we were like, cool, we're gonna stay at KW. And then we realized, hey, why don't we just plug ourselves into this amazing organization and take advantage of what they've come to build around the area, and it paid dividends from day one. So
That's great.
I can't really talk to starting a brokerage. I'd imagine it's an incredible amount of work and capital intensive. But for us, it was like, well, other people have already done it. Who do we align with morally and business wise? So that's why we landed there.
Okay. So you didn't partner with a broker, so to speak, like, hey, we're going to start a brokerage. You built a team of agents and then took that team.
Underneath a
And
brokerage, correct.
I
Yeah.
gotcha.
At
Okay.
KW, it was just Dan and myself. Then we hired appointment setters, virtual assistants, agents underneath us, grew the team quite large, caught the eye of Sotheby's at the time, I suppose. They saw us doing, just like any brokerage recruits people, right? Doing a lot of
Yeah.
volume, I guess.
Yeah.
Ignored them for a little and then said, hey, why don't we see what they're about? Because we want to start doing seven-figure, $1 million plus homes, right? And then we decided to make the move over there. We literally moved across the street from
Yeah.
our KW office into our Sotheby's office. So it's
Yeah.
just, it was ideal for us at that time.
Yeah. Sotheby's is a huge brand. Obviously, they're very well known here in the Atlanta area and
Yeah. They're
high end,
global.
the highest end
Yeah, they're
houses that we have.
worldwide. So it's like a
Yeah.
global, like everyone knows Sotheby's from the auction house to now the brokerage.
Yeah. Absolutely. So talk me through you. I know that you were focused on retail back then. At some point, you guys started doing more flips, more wholesaling, other parts of single family. So kind of talk me through that process. How'd you go from, hey, we're a retail based company to let's look at investing and
Yeah.
flipping and doing some more stuff.
Yeah, so I would say now we're mainly wholesaling heavy, very wholesale heavy because there's shorter sales cycle. For us, there's a very big difference in the amount of revenue coming in versus a wholesale compared to like a buyer or a listing. We're
Hmm.
probably like, I don't know, 3 to 5% flipping. We stopped flipping, and we didn't do a whole ton of flipping because wholesaling was a quicker, sales cycle there for us. But we stopped around COVID. That was when I remember doing our last flip. And
Okay.
we'll do some, I think Dan and our other partners are doing some small aesthetic flips now, but nothing too major. But to answer your question, we started with retail, helping buyers mainly at the start because that's an easy way to get in by hosting open houses and meeting Brandon the buyer and helping him find something. Then we started
Yeah.
to get listings, which are easier, faster, more systematized than a buyer. Because buyer, there's an insane amount of risk, right? Like I could work with you for a year and you're like, dude, I'm just gonna rent. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
awesome. I just spent a lot of time and nothing happened. Listing
Right.
a little bit more or less risk, I should say, on that regard. And then it was around again a pre episode. I told you I'm pretty bad with dates. I think it was around like 2017 or 18. Don't quote me on that. We found out about this thing called wholesaling, and that's when
Mm.
we joined Wholesaling Inc. and TTP with
Okay.
Tom and Brent. Learned about wholesaling, and then said, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we actually execute on it? We figured it out through the coaching, through mentors, through people in the industry that have been there, done that. And then we started to say, hey, this is pretty cool. Like you can literally get a contract today and have, revenue coming in 2 to 3 weeks if that's like there's an urgency there.
Yeah.
When we really started to make the shift though was when we started tracking all of our numbers and saying, hey, what is buyers compared to listings now compared to wholesale? And we did this manually. This drove me crazy. Like it amounted to a lot of stress on my end because I knew what I needed to do, but I didn't know how to get there. And there are a lot of tools out there that had to get pieced together. And I'm not like a tech person. I can architecturally figure it out in my mind, But it was a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of like, I think this might be right. I'd show it to a coach and he'd pick it apart in 2 seconds. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, it took me 2 weeks to do that. And like all the numbers are wrong. So long story short there, Brandon, is that's kind of where Billions came from, the
Okay.
CRM platform for teams. We built it for our own team first. And then
Okay.
we started collecting data religiously and mandatory in a mandatory fashion. And then once
Hmm.
we started to see, okay, I'm gonna make up numbers, but we net 14K on every listing, but we net 29K on every wholesale. Well, there's a
Hmm.
huge discrepancy there. So how do we go from retail heavy, wholesale minority and flip it on its end? So
Hmm.
now when we approach our lead gen, it's going or targeting urgency motivated sellers for that kind of approach of, well, is this something that they need to sell very fast, or they're embarrassed to put it on the market, or whatever the case may be, and can we wholesale it, or buy and hold or buy and flip, whatever the exit strategy is, or do they want to put it on the market? And at the
Hmm.
time, a couple of years ago before I left, we also had the option of, we can renovate this for you. You pay on the
Hmm.
back end at the sale, but that's how you're going to get the highest amount of money. So we started to keep all this stuff internally. So we said, hey, Brandon, we can do this, 2 weeks and you're done. Don't do anything, don't touch anything. Or we can do this. It's going to take 4 months, but you're going to net the most amount of money. But it's not a guarantee. What do you want to, and everything in between. So what would
Right.
you like to do given your situation? And we always wanted it to be about the seller and what's best for them, right? But we'd
Hmm.
give them this plethora of options that they could choose from, and then they went with whatever they went with.
Okay. So did y'all do novations at all? Were you ever in
No,
the?
that was before, like when I was in it, that was before novations were like, people were just starting to talk about novations at a,
Okay.
public level, social media level, but I had left
Hmm.
before that. I'm kind of glad because I was never really too confident in that, but I don't know if our
Hmm.
team does them now. Primarily, it's just wholesaling and maybe a flip or two here or there. And
Yeah.
then retail is like the other option if they want to go that way. But
Right.
when I was in it, we just helped people buy listed properties, help them sold and wholesaled, or flipped them and then
Yeah.
listed them ourselves.
So a couple questions on some of the nuts and bolts, if you don't mind, on wholesaling specifically.
Mhm.
So you mentioned what your profit per deal was as an estimate. I know I'm like you. I kind of speak in generalities. I'm like,
Yeah,
it was 25,000 and some change. I don't know exactly what it
yeah, yeah.
was. So don't hold me to the exact penny. But um, so you guys are doing outbound marketing. What are you doing to find your properties? And are you doing virtual wholesaling, or do you guys run in-person appointments?
Right. So to answer the second part of that, it's all in person. We're very
Okay.
regional. So southern parts of Maryland, Washington, D.C., northern part of Virginia. And we'll go outside of that if it makes sense, but that's typically what we focus on. So to answer your first question, how do we find these deals? At first, it was like anything and everything, dude. Like I used to wake up and go into DC with Dan at 3 or 4 in the morning and hang up bandit signs with a 20-foot pole that had a big nail on it, and
Wow.
like slam it into a post before the cops came or took them
Yeah.
down. So we did. When I say we did everything, we did. We drove for dollars.
Yeah.
We eventually paid people to drive for dollars for us. We did. Do you remember yellow letters, Brandon?
Oh yeah. Oh
So we
yes.
did yellow letters from a guy that we randomly found on, remember Craigslist out
Hmm.
in Pennsylvania, and we did yellow letters. But then as we started to get revenue, we would just reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. Nowadays, PPC is our number one lead source. So
Okay.
we run PPC ad campaigns for motivated sellers. So literally, I mean, you probably know a lot about PPC and how it works, but for those of you who might not, someone literally has a problem that they need a solution for, and they are proactively going to a computer, typing in their problem, hoping that someone can solve it. In this case, it's, I need to sell my house yesterday type of urgency. So we
Hmm.
run, we're one of the four ads. They click on our website. We have a really good conversion of like 40-50% of click to actually collecting information. Goes
Yeah.
into our CRM. We work it with a lot of automation, with a lot of urgency, speed to lead type of thing. And we've been doing that for about 7-8 years now. And that's actually where Brighter PPC came from. We ran it ourselves for 8 years and then had people say, hey, can you do this for us? And we're like, we don't know, we'll try it. And it worked quite well. So now we do it for people across the country too. But it's strictly just Google Ads. We don't do YouTube, we don't do Facebook or Bing or anything. We're just really good at Google Ads.
Okay. I love that though, how, so we did the same thing. We were in real estate. We noticed some shortcomings on the lending side. So we started a private lending business, basically helping fill the gaps that we saw in the marketplace. And I love how you started in on the retail side, got into the investment world, started flipping and doing wholesaling, and you recognized, hey, one of the methods that we're utilizing for outbound marketing or inbound, one of the many methods of marketing, we can do it. Let's learn it internally. Let's use it in our business and then build it out for other users as well. So now you mentioned you're doing PPC as a third party company for other investors. So if I wanted to go start doing PPC again, I could call you up. You guys would do pay per click for me, for my company.
Yeah, and it kind of like came back to my time at the Air Force because it was so like, what are we trying to do? How do we do it the same predictable, repeatable way? And each kind of like phase of my progression in my career, whether it was with the software we use, with the PPC campaign we use, everything was built for scale to make it really easy. So to use your example, if you did want to hire a PPC company like us, it's about a 24-hour turnaround for you to have a well put together, critically thought out campaign that gives you an advantage going in from, say, on your own by yourself, trying to figure things out. So we have it systematized and documented. We call them playbooks or SOP. But when we do get a new customer, we ask you two questions, Brandon. We'll say, who do you want getting your leads? We only want your rock star, one or two top sales acquisition people. And what area code do you want? And then it's black box, like out of the box, done for you, where we're testing. Hey, are you getting these notifications via text and email? Did you get the phone number call or the phone call that I called off the website? Cool, you did? Okay, your campaign is on. And then there's a 60 to 90 day window to optimize that, where we have a way of collecting information from you as the boots on the ground to start to optimize, so Google doesn't start to say, hey, Brandon loves everything, let's just keep sending him everything. So we manually signal what you do like and what's working, so Google knows where we want them to spend your money.
Okay. Why PPC over PPL? I've done both pay per click and pay per lead. What made you focus in on pay per click? Was it just because you guys were finding success there, or what are the advantages of PPC over PPL?
Yeah, I mean, PPC, it's a straight to you from the source lead gen, right?
Okay.
And PPL kind of is, kind of isn't, right? Like,
yeah,
there's a trust aspect of it where the PPL company says you might be the only one getting it. But I've researched and talked to a lot of owners of PPL companies that also, it's a hodgepodge mix in my opinion. And I could be wrong about this, but this is why we did PPL for a long time, Brandon. And then as I found out and discovered this stuff, I was like, maybe we should just control the narrative ourselves and run our own campaign. But PPL at the time was Google ads, maybe a Bing ad or a YouTube ad or a Facebook ad, kind of all sprinkled in. So you didn't quite know. And there wasn't the ability for us at that particular time. This was years ago, Brandon, so things could be different now. But that just didn't sit right with us, not really knowing the website that they went to, what messaging they were getting. Because if you don't know what the messaging someone is going to this random site that may or may not be shared with you, typing in their information, you're starting off in a negative value, right? Not really knowing what they were promised or what was said or what was, where they actually came from. So our company over time just wanted to control all the controllables, and that meant running our own campaign.
Okay. All right. And then you built it out, and you said that was called Brighter PPC?
Brighter PPC. Yeah. Okay. BrighterPPC.com is our website, but we only do Google ads, where we do one thing, and it's only for highly motivated seller leads. We don't do leads. We don't say, hey, I'll help you buy a home, I'll help you list your home. That's it. And then there's a lot of emphasis on the customer or the partner that we call them, their ability to take it. Like 50% is us getting people to say, hey, Brandon, I want to sell my home rather quickly. But then the most important 50% is on your ability to get to it fast and then to close it and convert it. Because if if there's nothing else, like if the person on the other end of the line gets back to it in half a day later or a day later or 2 hours later, it's going to be very difficult, and then the leads are going to be bad, right? So
Hmm.
it's a very we not to sound like we're the best and we can do it better than anyone, but we're very kind of picky on who we want to partner with for that very reason, because it's a lot of
Yeah.
work. We're
Yeah.
monitoring it and optimizing it every single day, all day,
Yeah.
from bot threats, from click fraud, from all this stuff, and optimizing it. And we just want to make sure we're aligned with the right people who can actually close.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned, and I love that the definition or the description of PPL versus PPC. PPC, you guys have a landing page. Someone goes in, they click on your link, they put in their information, and then that is sent directly to me,
Yep.
and I work the lead. PPL is you're doing something more before you send me the lead, like qualifying it to make sure it fits my buy box. It's in the area I want to buy, has some urgency, blah blah blah, and then you're sending me that lead. And I'm assuming pay per lead is usually a good bit more expensive than the pay per click, because you're having to do more on the back end before you send me the lead. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. There's for the company running it, that's very true, because the company running it in essence, Brandon, is like fronting the ad spend for that. And they're
Mm-hmm.
hoping there's going to be enough people. Most of the time it's an auction like atmosphere where me and you both wanted to have a PPL provider in Washington D.C. I could go in and say, "Hey, I'm willing to spend $500." Then you come in behind me and say, "Hey, I'll spend 525." And we're
Mm-hmm.
bidding, right? With PPC, you're not doing that. You're coming into an auction with other people in the auction. Most of the time there's 10 to 16 other companies vying for the positions, right? Depending on where you are. But you're going to start off with Google. It's kind of getting into the weeds on like a campaign, but Google doesn't know, like, or trust you yet, right?
Yeah.
Brandon,
Yeah.
Rickman's going to come in and say, "Hey, send me really good leads." They're going to be like, "Well, Andrew's been here for like 5 years. His credit card never declines. He pays
Mm-hmm.
on time. He, is very active in his campaigns, and he has this broad reach kind of thing." You have to prove yourself to them from a very early start. So long-winded answer there is you might start off more expensive than a PPL company. Maybe not.
Okay.
It's like it is what it is for your given
Mm-hmm.
area. It's really hard to have a blanket answer for that. But over
Mm-hmm.
time, when you optimize and you get it to a stable state, we'll come into a market. I'll make up numbers. You're paying 450 per lead. That might sound high, but it might not be high if it's an actual quality lead, right? Like, I'd
Right.
rather spend one lead for 450 that has a really good chance of closing than $10 on 500 leads that I have to sift through. That's just
Right.
that's how I want to operate. So
Yeah.
as you're coming in, Google's saying, "Who's this dude or this website? How long are people staying on it? Are people clicking stuff, submitting stuff?" We're manually signaling all this, by the way, back to them saying, "Hey, yeah, people are like, pay more attention to us." And then we're going to
Yeah.
start to work after that 90-day period to bring the 450 down to 400, then 350, then 300, to ultimately land wherever it lands, right? Like
Yeah.
we were in San Francisco. We started at 850 a click,
Mm.
$850 a click. Now we're in like the 400 range. That might sound
Okay.
high, but not in San Francisco. We're
Right.
also in a really small area of North Carolina. We started at 300. Now we're down to like 180. That's the
Mm.
constant optimization and keeping it in the stable state. And then
Yeah.
there's the, bring SEO into it and start to offset the costs of a paid click versus an organic. But that's maybe another conversation for another day.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned that I love, I think it's a differentiator for you guys, with Brighter PPC, is that you will joint venture or partner with some people to work the leads for them. So I think that's huge for some of our listeners, because we talked yesterday. I had a call. We were talking about fear, people's fear. So especially newer people who are coming into the real estate investing and flipping and wholesaling, they don't know what they don't know, and they're fearful of, but what if I spend all this money? I don't know what to say on the phone. I don't know how
Yeah.
to handle the lead. I'm still working a full-time job and I can't call them back quick enough. So you guys offer a program, depending on the person and if it makes sense for you guys, but where you'll not only provide the PPC for them, but then you guys will actually work the lead potentially all the way to signing a contract. Is that right?
A little. I'll correct you on one thing. That's what we do regionally in our
Okay.
area.
Hmm.
Nowadays, Brandon, we talked about we're both in Coaching Inc. and we know all these fantastic people. Now, when people need help like that, we don't joint venture in that, right? We will
Okay.
say, hey, if you're new to, well, number one, I guess I should say, we also don't really work with people who are new to wholesaling and
Okay.
conceptually. So this is like, do you have the budget? Do you have the capital, the stomach, the systems, the processes, the people, the conversions, the scripts to get to the, the golden pot of
Hmm.
conversion, converting the lead and actually dispositioning it. So that's kind of like what we talk normally on the first call. I'm like, tell me about your business, Brandon, and I want to hear what you're talking about. If someone's like, well, what's PPC? I'm like, you know what? Respectfully, honestly, like I could spend their money, but they're gonna waste it because they're just not ready. And that's not
Yeah.
to mean they're not good or never will be, but I want to be a good steward of their capital as well because it's a lot of money in some
Yeah.
people, it's right. So we like to work with an established company that maybe tried it and didn't have success on their own or with somebody else, so we can kind of come in and implement what we do. So to answer that part is we only nowadays JV or joint venture with regional people. That's
Hmm.
what Dan and like our partners are doing. Like again, I don't do that anymore. But we'll put people in touch with amazing coaches and people
Hmm.
who do know it if they do need that type of, education part of this whole thing. But most
Okay.
likely we wouldn't be a good fit respectfully because of that reason. If they're brand new to like, hey, I want to learn it, it's too early. It's like going to the
Gotcha.
NFL after throwing a football like 10 times in your backyard. You're going to get
Yeah.
obliterated. And then it's just
Right.
not going to be good for anybody.
Right. That's great. So you also mentioned a CRM that you guys built out, and I think now are offering for as a to other investors around the country. So again, saw a hole in the market or a gap that you guys thought you could do better. Create a CRM that was built for and around real estate investors, and now you guys are doing that. Talk a little bit about the CRM that you guys are working on.
Yeah, I'd love to. And here's the thing with that. So I was on these other CRMs out there, and they're all really good. They, at the end of the day, they checked a lot of boxes and got us you know, to the finish line transactionally. But what started to happen was, again, my OCD-ness coming into play here, and just the stress of we were running like a very high volume, high transaction team with a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, and what was really hard as an operator was, and I'm not like the smartest guy, and I don't have the best memory, Brandon. So I was like, man, I don't want to have to ask Brandon every single time what happened on his appointment. Like he doesn't self-report back to us, but it shouldn't be me as the operator, the COO, right? Saying, "Hey Brandon, you should be out of your appointment from 2 hours ago. Like what happened?" And then like I'm
Mm.
taking down the notes suddenly. So we started to automate that process. But on the tools that we're using in the marketplace, Brandon, we always hit some functionality limitation. And the answer from the owner, if I could get with the dev team, like the head of development, I would at like big CRMs. They were like, yeah, we're never going to have that. Like, just go
Mm.
get Zapier or an
Yeah.
integrator, a bridge, and go get this tool and that tool and that tool. And our last, what turned out to, I guess, be the prototype of Billions was a very, very well known CRM, Zapier, like 8 other tools. And again, remember, I'm not a tech guy, so I wasn't the one like coding.
Mm.
I could hire people to do it architecturally the way I wanted it, but when something broke, it was very hard to be like, well, who did this one? Oh, it was Brandon. Let me call him. And you're like, dude, I'm busy. Like, what? Do you have
Yeah.
a support package with me? Like, kick rocks, that kind of thing. So there was that, and then it would stop. I'd have to put out a message to the team saying, "Hey, this is down for now. Do it this way." And people were like, "How
Mm.
long is this going to take?" And I'm like, "I have no
Yeah.
clue." And then I had to pay 5 grand to get it fixed, or 2 grand, or whatever. So there was a lot to manage. There was a lot to pay for, and when something broke, it was a nightmare for me. And it didn't. At the end of the day, it never really quite worked out the exact specifications that I wanted it to do for my own
Mm.
selfish reasons of not wanting to have to ask you, Brandon, 50 million times to tell me what happened on all the appointments that we gave you, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
so flash forward, Billions is Think of it this way. This is an analogy that I love to use. You want to open a burger joint, and you're in Georgia, right? You're down
Yep.
south for
Hmm.
me. Brandon wants to open up a burger joint. You can figure out where you're going to buy your food from, the delivery schedule. You're going to find a plot of land. You're going to find an architect, a construction company. You're going to put it up, logo, colors, system layout, POS system, cash registers, training, or you just go get a McDonald's and you can
Hmm.
have that tomorrow, right? Here's everything you need, Brandon.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you know this, but if you're in different regions, you're allowed to do inside of the McDonald's franchise model specific like Georgia stuff. Like you could put hot sauce, a Georgia hot, something like that, specific to you. So what we
Okay.
like to align that with Billions is I'm going to give you a 95% done for you McDonald's version of a team CRM. It's just for teams. It's not for solo agents.
Hmm.
Because we're built on top of Salesforce, a $300 billion company in San Francisco with a huge building in all major cities, you can take it, the rest of the 5%, for what Brandon wants to do specifically. So
Okay.
the amount of customization is, I hate saying it this way, but it's limitless. If
Hmm.
you have the wherewithal and you want to invest and you want to pay for tracking your people on GPS, nodes that you attach to their cars, you can do it on a live map. Like you can do
Hmm.
anything in the world on Salesforce, which is really cool. But the
Yeah.
way we broke it out is, hey, Brandon, we've been there, done that. Took me 11 years and probably $500,000 in tech costs that I threw away because at some point the person on the other line said, "We don't do that. We never will. Go get something else." And I grew sick of it. So we
Hmm.
have everything from the day to day. So a lead comes in, you can call them, text them, direct mail, email, e-signature through DocuSign, all the way through closing with
Hmm.
135 different reports that automatically update in real time, built natively inside of that. So you can come in and say, hey, I don't want direct mail today, but I want it in 2 months. 2 months later, you say, I want direct mail now. Magically, a button that says send mail appears in your system, and now you can send direct mail without having to do what I had to do for 11 years of, well, who's a good direct mail provider? Hey, I want it to do this. Can it do that? Yeah, it can. $10,000 later, oh, it can't really do it like that.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
just wasted 10K. So those
Right.
sort of things, the little nuances from me being a pain in the ass of having to do on my own is
Hmm.
all best I could built into Billions. And
Okay.
we have a listing pathway, a buyer pathway, a wholesale pathway. So they're all different fields, stages, reports, monies, people, that kind of thing,
Hmm.
compartmentalized into the type of deal. But all the data is aggregated at a company level, at an individual level, all done for you. But then you come and say,
Okay.
"Hey, I've been using it for a month. I want it to do this, this, and this," and we'll work to find a most economical, efficient way to make it happen for you.
Okay. I imagine there's a lot of automation built into that CRM. That's a big thing these days. Automation.
Yeah, I mean, that is what the system is, Brandon. So the other kind of caveat here for Billions is going back to my like predictable, repeatable likeness. There's one way to do things and one way only. So you set an appointment the same way that I set an appointment. We blocked every other way to do it. So you aren't going in and saying, hey, I set an appointment with John Smith. I'm going to update these 5 things. And then I set an appointment with Mary Maple and I update 12 things. And now your data is all jacked, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we actually have a pretty strict framework of pipeline where
Hmm.
you set an appointment, you click a button, you fill it out, you hit save, and boom, it updates the stage to appointment for you. Sends everyone on the team that needs it an email that says, Andrew just set an appointment with Brandon for Friday at 3. It just plus one up on the appointment that Gary, the appointment setter, set. And it's now
Hmm.
tracking the revenue attached to that appointment. Google PPC just plussed up on another one, and it's tracking the revenue that came from that or the projected revenue at that point all the way through close. So there's only one way to do things. We literally put blockers in place. So if you just arbitrarily said appointment update stage, it says, hey, wait a second, Brandon, you have to fill out this form. It's located over here. Follow the rules,
Hmm.
right? So there are
Yeah.
blockers in place. And that's how you start to operate like a business owner and you run your business like a business because you're looking at real tangible data versus I think this is working to I know this is working from a lead source perspective or I know this is working or not from a personnel perspective too because we track that as well.
Yeah. I love that. One of the drawbacks that I had a couple of years ago when we were at our operating at our highest point, we had a lead manager who was working the initial leads. We had three acquisition managers who were going on appointments in the CRM. We had follow up managers who were virtual assistants who were getting into our CRM as well. And so we had 5 or 6 different people who were all working the leads in the CRM. And regardless of how well we trained them, some of them would not put certain information in, and others would put that information in.
Yep.
And so, as you know, and with any good system, with any good CRM, if you put junk in, you get junk out, and
Yep.
reports are not accurate and dates are not accurate. And so it was a constant battle to try to figure out. And I'd had to do that. I had to, have a meeting every day. Like, okay, what happened with this lead? What happened with this lead? What happened with this
Yep.
appointment? And it's because, they were busy. They didn't put the information in that they needed to. And we would go back and find out, hey, there's 20 leads in here that have not been updated in the last 2 months. Have you talked to them? Yeah, I talked to them. Well, update the CRM. So I love that yours requires certain things to be completed, which takes a lot of the work off the operator and everybody really.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also the way of doing it. It's boring, right? But it's boring on purpose because you can do this on your desktop or on the mobile app, right? You get out of a listing appointment and you just click on this post appointment button and it says answer all these 10 things, right? Some of them are mandatory, the majority are, but they're now just super efficient. After you do it once or twice, you're like, I know what Billions is going to ask me about this post appointment. So I'm going to get in my car, open it up, write it out, and hit save. Then once you hit save, the system knows that you've reported back. There's actually a report for missing post-appointment reports that we track too. Say, hey, Brandon, you have 5 missing appointments from this week. Like, you're not getting another appointment until you report back to us. So
Yeah.
there's that sense of urgency a little bit. We also have something where the appointment's at 2, at 4 o'clock, you get an email saying, hey, Brandon, you should be out of this appointment by now. Click here to fill out the post-appointment form. 2 hours later, then 2 hours later, with varying degrees of aggressive language inside of the email.
Yeah.
That you can tweak if you want. But then there's that report. So you mentioned a lead manager. We actually have a concept of a zero dashboard. So a zero dashboard inside of Billions is where lead managers really love to live because it does the work of the lead manager for them. And what I mean by that, Brandon, is instead of having to say, didn't Brandon go on 5 appointments last week? Like, what was the first one? What was the second one? Like, what's this? Like, did he report back? No. The zero dashboard has the name zero because all the reports on that dashboard, if they are populated with anything but a zero, it means that someone on the team is not doing follow-up, is not reporting back. So we have when an appointment is assigned but not set but not officially assigned to someone, there's a report around that. Then when it's assigned, there's a report around, hey, Brandon's going to owe us this post-appointment outcome. If there's any uninterested or unknown interest status, leads that are not dead or closed with no future follow-up task or action plan associated with it. So if these numbers are populated, it means that Brandon or Susan or whoever's on your team is not doing something. So then the lead manager can say, hey, I'm just looking at this report, Slack. Brandon, fill out these 4 forms. Here's a link to it. Make your job really easy. You fill them out, 10 seconds later, you have one done. Within 2 minutes, all of it is back. Getting an email sent directly to leadership about how you went on 5 appointments, didn't sign any of them. Okay, wait a second. In real time, I know that he just 0% conversion rate on 5 really good appointments. Like, what the heck is happening with Brandon? Let's go inside that. Instead of, 50 appointments later and Brandon hasn't brought in a single signed contract. So speed to knowledge is also what we call corporate IQ inside of Billions. You need to know that stuff or else you're going to, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I wasted so much money. How do I avoid that? And the only thing, unless you know another better way to do it, is real-time data analysis in as real time as you can have it.
Yeah, that's great. So what? So you got Brighter PPC, you got Billion CRM. What's on the horizon? You guys working on something else to bring out?
Yeah, my newest thing, Brandon, and this kind of goes to the conversations with a lot of Brighter people who might not be ready for that level of commitment from ready in the terms of like their systems and their processes are down or the capital investment that they have to make. So I thought, like, what do we do really well? Just like we did, our tech really well, and then we can sell it. Fortunately, like people think it's good to use for their own teams, which is cool.
Yeah.
Same thing with Brighter. But what was like a lower level of entry? And our third and very high producing forever has lead gen was probate.
Mm.
So I guess long story short there, dude, is I started the probate engineers program. Essentially, it's a my life's work figuring out the probate process to become an
Hmm.
expert or a specialist. In today's world, I firmly believe, real estate world, I should say, that being a specialist is super in the in demand. And
Hmm.
with probate, oftentimes, 80-90% of probate files have a property, real property, i.e. a house or, an apartment or a condo or whatever that needs to be liquidated so they can ultimately sell off the debts. Whatever is left over is what
Hmm.
gets, distributed between heirs and beneficiaries. So the kind of approach there was, hey, I've been doing this for a really long time. Let me put a program together for you, Brandon. You might know probate, but do you know how to
Hmm.
talk the language and say certain things so a PR, personal representative, whether they're an administrator or an executor, will get a really good feeling saying, "Hey, Brandon," and I met with Brandon and Andrew. I'm a personal representative in California. I have a property in Georgia. Both of them called me. Andrew just said he could list it and take care of it for me, but Brandon was asking, do you have a probate attorney that can help you with court filings that need to be followed to a standard, or else it's going to delay? I have all the right people on my team, what we refer to as a power Rolodex. I can bring in the right people. You're acting like a quarterback or a head coach, saying at this given moment, PR person, you need this person on your team. I have someone on my team. I can bring them in. I can be your quarterback on the ground here in Georgia while you're taking care of the other stuff in the probate file out in California. You're in good hands. Stuff like that that you can talk to. You can
Hmm.
talk the talk and then actually walk the walk. Because you're in real estate, you like stuff comes up when it's just a property, like with title, with squatters, and you want to remove the hurdle before it's even a hurdle for the seller, right? If you're really good, you do that. So they don't even know what you did, but you're getting it to the finish line faster, cheaper for them so they can accomplish it. But then tack on, you have to file court documents, right? You have to know which ones to file and what order and how to file them the right way, or they'll turn it
Yeah.
back to you 6 weeks after you turned it in, right? Or whatever it
Hmm.
is. Then you have to
Right.
do an inventory. You have to sell the assets. You have to figure out who the creditors are and make them aware that whoever passed away, right? They have a due diligence period of, hey, this person passed away. They actually owe us money on a Visa bill or whatever. There's a system
Hmm.
to that, right? All the way through, who are the heirs and beneficiaries? They need to be notified. How do you do all this stuff while dealing with the property inside of all of it? So that's what we're teaching. So the specialists, the probate specialists, with here's a checklist, here's a Rolodex, here's this, here's that. And they're like, man, I feel really comfortable with Brandon's ability to not only liquidate the property inside because he can buy it from me. Again, like exit strategy of Brandon. He said he can not only buy the property from me, he can also renovate it and list it if we choose to do so. However, we're kind of in a bit of a time crunch here. So we need to just have him directly purchase it from us. Whether you buy it and flip it, buy it and hold it, or wholesale it, it's up to you,
Hmm.
right? But having that plethora or of options for the exit strategy is another advantage. Oh, by the way, you need help like with the court system. I'm going to bring in my attorney. He or she is going to work for free, and he or she will get paid on the back end. But they're going to make sure that this doesn't take 6 months. They're going to make sure it takes 2 months or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's just the mentality of what we're trying to teach at the probate engineers program, to get into, fortunately but unfortunately at the same time, a never ending lead source of like where do these leads live, like how do you find them. I'll teach you that. Again, going
Hmm.
back to, you can go buy probate lists, but are they accurate, are they fresh, or are they stale? Can you trust it? Or hey, Brandon, how about if I teach you how to find a probate office at the courthouse where you can go in either in person or online, get them yourself every Tuesday at 8 a.m. when they get filed and
Hmm.
publicly made available. And then on top of that, I can teach you how to create a system to have someone else do it for you within a month or two. So
Hmm.
now you're just getting probate leads sent to you from Mandy, the person that's running it, right? Doing it for you.
Yeah.
So we teach education, we teach tactical application and systems and how to actually like tangibly do it. And then we teach, hey, how do you leverage other people to do it for you? To how do you leverage other counties across the United States if that's what you want to do? How do you get really, really good at this one thing? Because it can print leads for you week after week after week if you really put the time and effort to learn it.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. We've done quite a bit of probate work over the years, so it is a great lead source, and
Yeah.
a little different than a lot of the other lead sources. Obviously, not only in how you talk to the person, because obviously they've had someone pass away, and so
Yeah.
they're a lot of times emotional or upset, and having to deal with this asset that they have to get rid of.
Right.
But then, like you mentioned, the requirements in each county and each state for filing, what court paperwork do you have to submit, when does it have to be submitted? So yeah, a lot of details around that.
There's
So
definitely a sensitivity to that. It's not just like, hey, you want to start, like you have to approach
right,
it in a very, very, very different manner. But yeah, the other kind of oddball to probates is literally there's over 3,100, 3,200 counties in America. Each county has their own way of doing it. So
mm,
you have to go in and know what you're looking for, ask the right questions, like not give up on that part of it. But when you do, it'll pay you dividends for the rest of your career. And you can operate your entire career on just probates if you really want to,
yeah,
if you get it really dialed in.
yeah, that's true. That's great. So to finish up here, kind of in closing, I have a question for you, and it kind of comes from I saw somebody post the other day something about coaching, and do you think that coaching is a value or not a value? And there was a person who responded that was like, I would never pay anybody to be my coach when there's something I can learn for myself.
Yeah.
Which I responded and told him I thought that was complete garbage. And we talked about this before, but if I'm keeping up with it accurately, you were part of Wholesaling Inc. When you were doing a lot of wholesaling, learning how to wholesale. So you had a coach that helps you learn how to wholesale. You also joined TTP. I know we were in Collective Genius together, which is a mastermind group, not a one-on-one situation, but a group coaching and mentoring and mastermind. And then you're in Coaching Inc. and now with me. And then I believe you also said you're in Family. There's
Yep.
probably a few more there. So, but that's about 5 different coaching programs that you've been a part of, that you've paid other people to gain their knowledge and their information, their advice.
Yeah.
So the question wrapped around all of that is, how important do you think that has been to help you go from starting out when you left the
Yeah.
Air Force as a civilian to where you are now? How important has coaching been? How valuable is that?
Invaluable. And to each his own, right? Like I mentioned a couple of times, I'm not like the smartest guy. I obviously anyone can put in the time and the money and the effort to figure stuff out on their own. If you want to do that, power to you. Like that's amazing. That's really cool. You have to think about coaching in the way of you're expediting your educational time that you put into it. Like it took me 10 years to build a system, right? Just by
Mm,
piecing, hodgepodging, trial error, a lot of money spent, so much blood, sweat, and equity. Sweat equity went into that, blood, sweat, and tears type of thing.
yeah.
I am a very firm believer, kind of like I think you just mentioned. So we hired our first coach in 2015, about 2 years after. I wish I hired a coach in 2013, the first day I ever started in real estate.
Hmm.
Regardless, like this is where your ego needs to kind of like get checked at the door a little bit. So
Right.
obviously, you want to do it yourself? Cool. It could take you 1 month. It could take you 10 years. But like, good luck, and good luck having the amount of money and the stomach to do it. But you're hiring a coach to be in a different room with people who have done it before you, that already experienced all the trials and tribulations and already
Hmm.
spent money and lessons learned and all this stuff. So you're expediting your learning curve. I mean, I've been in way more than what you just mentioned, but the ones that I'm in now, I really love being in. But the same regard of kind of trying it on your own and failing and then trying something different and failing, trying something different. Same for coaching programs. Like, not all coaching programs are created equal either. I've been in coaching programs where I spent 20, 30K and I literally got nothing from it. And I was like, why did I do that? That sucked. But it was worth it because it led me to this other coaching program. So I'm
Mm,
also a firm believer in like always educating yourself and never stop learning, because you're never gonna like like in sports, Michael Jordan practices, Tom Brady practices, Tiger Woods practices when they were all playing, even after they won 6 Super Bowls or 6 rings, right?
Right.
Because you practice and it just keeps you kind of like in tune with what you're doing. The same is true for your business. Like you should never, I mean, there might be a unicorn, Brandon, where this one person does something and they make all this money and now they're a coach or whatever they're doing. But I love coaching programs. I love
Yeah.
buying courses and just learning because what you pick up, what's the worst thing that can happen? You lose money. That sucks. But what if you pick up one thing and you're like, oh, dude, I never thought about that. Let me implement that. Oh my gosh, it worked. I just made 10K, paid for itself.
Yeah.
Cool. But now I have that knowledge for the rest of my life. So
Right.
that's where I kind of stand on coaching. I think it's 100% something you should do if you're new. I guess in real estate, Brandon, it's either join a team and you get in person on the job coaching or training, kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
coaching program, and find a mentor, or just buy it. And then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to accomplish what you might take you, however long it takes you, 5, 10 years, in about 6 months or a year. Then you're going to be
Yeah.
well ahead. And then you're going to find a better one, then a better one. You're going to level up every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think coaching, obviously, I tell people it's probably the most important thing I've ever done from a career standpoint is joined masterminds and hired coaches because, like you said, it shortcut the process for me. They could tell me, when I first started, and if you think about it, it makes sense. You're just starting out in real estate. You've never done anything about it. You probably don't even know what the term CRM means, right? Or I can come to you or to a coach who has worked inside of 10 different CRMs and they have lots of experience with CRMs and they can tell me, hey, this one works really well. This one doesn't work very well. Here's what you want in a CRM. This is the kind of automation that you want in a CRM. So it shortcuts that process and makes the learning so much faster. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's been beneficial. The ones that we're a part of now too, and I think there was kind of a transition at one point for me is a lot of what I gained from them now is more personal. There's always been relationships, right? And we've loaned money to each other to do deals and partnered on deals. And so there's been relationship forming, but most of the coaching programs that I'm a part of now, there's a high degree of personal development and personal connection and realizing that it's all business is about people. And so we need to build the people, encourage the people mindset and how you think about yourself and how you treat your spouse and how you treat others and serving the community and things like that. So that's another benefit that you get from it.
I didn't, it's really funny. I probably should have started with that. But recently, like as I get older, Brandon, I'm like, man, I only want to work with people that I like, answering their call. I don't want to ever be like, oh my God, this person's calling me. Like, I don't
Right.
like that. Networking is so freaking important. And I'll give you an example. Like, as I started to piece together the probate engineer stuff, it required different tool sets or experts to help with it. Because I don't have like a direct mail company, right? Like
Right.
I've used some and I had some in mind, but I went to Nashville about 2 months ago now, I think, around that time. And I was standing in line talking to someone and I like told a joke and it was hilarious. It landed really well. And the people in front of me turned around and were like, "Oh, that's funny. What do you do?" And I met these people and now we're partnering with inside of Billions, inside of the probate engineer for direct mail, like done for you. Brandon, here's direct mail and the concept, why it's important, how you run it, what you do. But if you don't want to figure it out, you can also just click this button and sign up for this direct mail house that we use. And it's a done for you. You upload a list. They already have your templates. Boom, it's done. And that was only because randomly that I mentioned before, my friend sent me a podcast episode. I was like, oh my God, Tom's doing Coaching Inc. What's this? I hit him up. We talked. I joined Coaching Inc. Drove 11 hours to Nashville the next day. Met a whole bunch of awesome people. And I'm like, what do you do, Brandon? What can we do together? Let's do something fun. You flip houses. You have a course. Okay, cool. Let's work that into the probate stuff somehow. Because that's another exit strategy. So networking is like what I really focus on today. Just because I love, and being in the right room. You have to be in the right room and network with the right people so it's not wasting your time and theirs. But once you find the right room, it's pure excitement for me right now. Because I'm meeting you, I'm meeting all these fantastic people in both coaching and family that are like, hey, I'm really trying to do this in probate engineer. Well, I have that. You want to just partner in some shape or form? Cool, yeah, let's do it. and then you're doing a podcast swap together, and then you're doing a launch together. So it's just really fun for me finally being in the right rooms, and it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah, no, it's great. I completely agree. I think networking and getting to know people in person, in person is so valuable. Building relationships, that's where it starts. And a lot of the friends and the mentors and the people that I still work with today have been from being in coaching groups and masterminds, and even in person. We're hosting an in-person event later this week here in town, and I've invited all of the hedge fund buyers that I worked with and private lenders. Our private lending company will be there, but all the real estate people that I know over the last 20 years, I've invited them to get together at this thing on Thursday. And I'm not selling anything. There's no presentation. It's just, let's just get together and talk and hang out. Yeah. And I know the reason I'm doing that is because I know people will make connections there, and people will improve their businesses and improve personally themselves just by getting in the same room with all of these great real estate people.
I mean, it's the same concept of why you join a coaching program, for the content or the programming of that coaching program, right? Like the how-to, like what do you do and how do you do it? But at the same time, what you just said is you're bringing in all these people. Those are solutions too, in many times, right? So I need something. I'm going to get invited to Georgia and go to, your event that you're hosting, and I need to partner with someone doing A, B, and C. You're like, hey dude, Andrew, go talk to Rick. Like he does what you need. We match up, and now boom, I have a solution, and I don't have to go figure it out on my own. He's had his thing going for 10 years with a very similar story from me. Like he started out doing it with other people, didn't work out, blood, sweat, tears, thrown away, figured it out. Now he has this solution. So a lot of networking is also just problem solving.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's fun too, because it's people that
it is fun. Yeah. Well, Andrew, man, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed talking to you today. Thanks again for joining us. How about, as we close, how can people get in touch with you to learn more about Brighter PPC or Billion CRM or what you're doing with probate? How do people find you?
Yeah, the easiest thing is across all social platforms. I am Andrew Becker. And then my cell phone number is 571-426-0911. If you DM me or hit me up on the social platforms, I'll get notified, obviously. If you text me or call me, that's my cell phone, so I'll pick it up and we can chat.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing your personal cell phone number. I actually have my cell phone number on my Facebook page. So it's like, you call me, I'm going to answer the phone and talk to you. And I think that's a benefit in our community, in the real estate community in general, is not for everybody, but for those of us who care about helping other people and care about serving. It's like, yeah, here's my phone number. Call me and I'll help you.
Yeah, I mean,
so
that's how you
appreciate
connect
that.
with people. So yeah, reach out if you'd like any questions, even if you don't wind up working together. I just always like having conversations with people in the industry. So that's how you can get in touch with me. And thank you so much for having me on, Brandon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Later.
All right.